Well, we know housing is a major focus in the federal budget. We've also heard a lot about the nearly $53 billion in new spending, and we know Saskatchewan's premier isn't happy about it. A big reason why is, of course, the carbon tax. Jonathan Wilkinson is Canada's Minister of Energy and Natural Resources. Minister Wilkinson is the MP for North Vancouver, but also has deep roots in our province. He grew up in Saskatoon, graduated from the U of S, and also worked as an advisor to former Premier Roy Romanow. And Minister Wilkinson joins us now. Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon.
So you should know this province well, obviously. Well, what does this budget do specifically for people in Saskatchewan?
Well, I think it does a number of things. First and foremost, I mean, the housing part of the budget is probably the most significant focus in the budget. It used to be the case that people talked about a housing problem and challenge in Vancouver and in Toronto, but increasingly it is being felt in cities across the country, including in Regina and Saskatoon. And so the commitment to significantly accelerate the rate at which we're actually building places where folks can live is really important. And I think this plan is perhaps the most comprehensive we've had in the last 50 years in Canada, and it's going to help us to address what is a real issue.
Is there anything more? So go ahead.
I was going to say there are obviously other things. I mean, there's significant funding in here for the Light Source project at the University of Saskatchewan, Vito Intervac, which is a really important facility at the U.S., and a range of other things, including money in my department for biofuels, which is an enormous economic opportunity for farmers and for processing in the province. But I would say housing is probably the headline.
Okay, well, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe called your budget a swing and a miss, and he says they had two requests: increase municipal infrastructure funding, but, quote, Moe says we have none of that, and then two, remove the carbon tax, and that is increasing, as we know. What are your thoughts on those comments from the Premier?
Well, I would encourage the Premier to look a little more closely at the budget, because in the housing section, there's actually a $6 billion commitment to fund infrastructure for those communities and those provinces where there is a commitment to accelerating the work on building new rental homes and other homes. So there is a commitment on infrastructure. In terms of the price on pollution, or the carbon price, I think there's been a fairly extensive discussion between Premier Moe and myself and others. Some of the things that Premier Moe has said in the past just do not have any factual basis. It is true that
like what?
The carbon price is the most effective way to reduce carbon emissions, and it is done in a manner that is affordable. So 8 out of 10 families in this country get more money back, and it actually is people who live on the most modest incomes that get the most money back. It's people who drive a Hummer and have a 6,000 square foot house that actually pay more, and you know what? They pollute more. So some of the things that Mr. Premier Moe has said, I would encourage him to go and talk to folks like Dr. Brent Dolter at the University of Regina, who, on the basis of the facts, says something quite different to Premier Moe.
Minister, can you answer that question for us here and now today? We know we're remitting the carbon tax, we're deciding, we're not giving that money back. Will Saskatchewan residents still get a rebate?
Well, I mean, what the province has done is essentially stopped remitting the carbon price associated with home heating. Right. But consumers still are remitting the price for gasoline, for example.
Of course.
So there certainly will continue to be a rebate. But clearly there have to be consequences when somebody knowingly breaks the law, as the Premier of Saskatchewan has done. I have said many times that it boggles my mind, as somebody who worked for a former premier, distinguished premier in Saskatchewan, who would never have contemplated breaking the law and telling people it's okay to do so. Boggles my mind in a province that has given us such great gifts of leadership in the past, like Tommy Douglas, and Helen Blakeney, and Roy Romanow, Ross Thatcher. But anyway, I mean, I would say there will need to be consequences. The Canada Revenue Agency, if you as an individual don't remit your taxes, there are consequences. They will come and find you, and they will get the money, and probably there will be penalties. And I expect that there will be the same kind of thing with respect to the government.
Do we know what that means, though, for individuals yet? Like, is there a formula how much less we're going to be getting on rebates?
No, we have a number of options, and some of those options would involve reducing the size of the rebate. Some of them would involve simply going after the government, which has made the decision to not remit the price. It's not the people in Saskatchewan who actually made that decision. It's Scott Moe and his government. So we are trying to be thoughtful about how to actually address this, but obviously the federal government can't simply stand by and watch provinces decide to pick and choose which laws they're going to abide by, just like citizens can't decide to pick and choose which laws that the province passes that they're going to abide by.
And what does that mean, Minister, consequences in terms of the province? Is this going back to court? Will there be fines? What does that mean exactly?
Well, as I say, there are a number of options on the table, but I would just point you to what happens with an individual. If an individual simply decides not to remit their taxes, the Canada Revenue Agency will come and will find ways to essentially get that money back from you. And there would be additional penalties associated for your non-compliance with what every other taxpayer in the country has to do.
Minister, you lived here, so you should know that. I mean, we often have the us versus the rest of the country attitude. How is it fair for your government to exempt home heating oil but not natural gas?
Well, look, the home heating oil debate again. I think at times the rhetoric has not necessarily been aligned with the facts. Home heating oil is 3 to 4 times as expensive as natural gas, depending on which province you're in, and it has escalated far more quickly than natural gas. One of the few groups of folks in Canada who actually were not getting more money back than they paid in on the carbon price were people who actually used home heating oil because it was so expensive. And those are often people who lived in energy poverty. So in order to address that issue, to ensure that the vast majority of Canadians are effectively getting more money back, we put a pause on that during a crisis of affordability. That's only a pause of 3 years, during which we're actually looking to implement heat pumps to save people money and to reduce carbon emissions. But it's not the same thing. It was way more expensive.
I understand it's more expensive, but obviously people in Saskatchewan are still having major issues with affordability here as well. And there is the argument that natural gas is more environmentally friendly than home heating oil.
Well, that's actually true. And that's one of the reasons why you really want to get rid of home heating oil is it is the most polluting for sure. But as I say,
But then
in
why
Saskatchewan,
subsidize a province that's using that compared to one that's going with a cleaner option?
well, we're not subsidizing. What we're actually saying is we're going to get rid of home heating oil, right? That we are paying for the implementation of heat pumps, so we eliminate home heating oil, and that's true in every province and territory in this country. I mean, people say this is about Atlantic Canada. There are actually more heating oil homes in Quebec than in all of Atlantic Canada, and they're about the same in Ontario as in all of Atlantic Canada. We're getting rid of that. But I would say for people who actually live and utilize natural gas, they are getting more money back in the rebate than they pay. That wasn't true of people on heating oil. And that's why we actually took the steps we did.
How would you describe the relationship with the province of Saskatchewan right now?
Well, I bemoan this. Like I worked for Romano, but I also worked as a federal-provincial relations special and a constitutional negotiator for Saskatchewan. I lived there for many, many years. My parents lived in Saskatoon. My sister lives in Regina, and I go back every year. So I bemoan the fact that we seem to be unable to have constructive conversations, even in areas where we actually don't disagree. I would tell you, I have far more discussion with Premier Smith in Alberta and a much more constructive relationship with Premier Smith in Alberta because we focus on the areas where we actually don't disagree and we try to make progress. That's what I'd like to be able to do with Saskatchewan. That's what I'd like to be able to do with Premier Mel.
And how do you do that? How do you repair such a tattered relationship that trickles down clearly to the voters as well? Because there isn't a single Liberal MP in this province. How do you rebuild such a fractured relationship?
Well, you have to continue to try and to perhaps give olive branches that hopefully will bear fruit. I have offered now a number of times to set up a dedicated resource and energy table with the government of Saskatchewan, where we would look at the priorities that the government of Saskatchewan has in terms of economic development going forward, and we would try to align federal supports, federal regulatory and permitting processes with those of the province. I have established those tables with every other province and territory in this country, pretty much. The only province thus far that has refused is Saskatchewan. But I would offer that again. I think that there are lots of things that we want to work on together and things that we have actually, like the Saskatchewan Research Council's work on rare earths or the Jansen Potash Mine or BHP, the second phase investment in Jansen, or 4N Mining, which is a prospective net zero copper facility on the east part of the province. There are lots of areas where we could do a lot more if we were working together, and I would like to see that happen.
Do you feel for the farmers and all the people in this province that are paying a lot more because of the carbon tax?
Well, I would say that what you just said actually is not true. That 8 out of 10 folks in this country actually get more money back than they pay. It is an affordability mechanism. It's not the reverse. People actually are better off because of the carbon
What
price.
about the two that aren't, though?
Well, as I say, by and large, those are people who live in very large homes who actually drive non-fuel efficient cars,
But what about the
and they
farmers
make
that?
those as lifestyle
What
choices,
about the
right? And they
farmers?
are polluting. They are creating the carbon emissions that are actually compromising the environmental future for our children.
Minister, thank you for this.
Not at all. Thank you.